Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video, and today I am doing my December 2024 monthly musings, where I talk about all things life, books I read, and tarot oracle stuff. And I'm literally filming on the last day of the year, so I was ready. Okay, I was ready to talk about the month of December, so let's get into it. December, on hindsight, I was like looking at like everything I did and like how long the month felt and all that stuff. December felt like an extremely long month. Not necessarily in a bad way. It just felt really, really long, I realized. I was like, what the heck? Why was this month so long? But it was. And there's a lot of random stuff I could talk about because, December is the month of the holidays. Especially, I guess, if you live in America, of course, everyone's like shoving Christmas down your throat, but it's okay. It's still fun. So let me think. What were some things that I did? I have a lot. I have a kind of a list, but let's get into it a little bit. So first off, if you don't know or didn't watch any of the 2-ish videos I had on it, I participated in Tarot Advent. This was like kind of revitalized by Kelly Bear, and it was super fun. I guess I can show that deck now. I was going to wait till near the end to talk about decks, but I will at least show this one because I didn't really do any other readings with it, so I guess it's fine. To show this now. This is the Every Little Thing You Do is Magic Tarot. For Tarot Advent, I basically flipped through this entire deck, and then there's like a separate journal, which, oh God, where did I put the journal? I don't know now. It is what it is. But I had like a separate journal that I was also working with because this deck is super, super cool. I'm just shuffling it up a little bit so you guys can see. This deck is super cool. As you can see, it is an animal collage style deck. I think it's digitally collaged, of course, but at the same time, like there's stuff that's drawn in, things that are collaged together. It's a really cool and fun deck. I love this little magician. Oh, and the Six of Wands, yes. Okay. I really liked doing Tarot Advent with this deck because I feel like it immediately brought me, I don't know, closer to this deck, even though the only reading I'll count with this deck I did was at the very last day. How it numbered out is like you had 3 cards in an envelope. Well, I used an envelope. Some people were actually like pulling them every day, but I had 3 cards in an envelope for every day leading up to Christmas, except the last day, which had 6 cards. And so what I decided to do was the 6 cards that were left were the interview spread for this deck. And yeah, it was just a fun experience to bond with this one. I really, really liked it. I liked that this deck had a lot of music. It was so funny to see what songs on the playlist for this deck because every card, literally every card has a song associated with it. It was funny to see which ones I actually knew. There were a lot of songs I knew, and then there were a lot of songs that were very new to me, but like were so cool. So I have new music now to listen to. And that was really cool. So Tarot Advent was a big thing in the month of December, obviously, especially for the first, 25 days. I also, of course, because it was the holiday season, there starts becoming a lot of holiday celebrations. Like my work had a big one where I even went out with my coworkers, had some drinks after the event too. So there was a work event for Christmas. I was doing a lot of Christmas baking. So my thing is, I don't really talk about it too much on this channel, right? But in real life, I am not made of money. So what I do for people, what I try to do in lieu of like getting people really fancy gifts that who knows, they might just take to the thrift store the next day. I bake them homemade cookies, right? So I do big Christmas baking and I got really into it. If I remember, I haven't remembered in a while. I'm so sorry. But if I remember, I will post a picture of it somewhere here so you guys can see the Christmas baking that I did. I baked for my coworkers that I really enjoy being around, and I also baked for my family. So not everyone in my family, I should say. It's more like my extended relatives that are not children that I'm not sure, like, okay, we're all adults here. Like, what do I even get you? I have a big family, okay? So that's also what's hard about it. Some of them I barely see. I don't know what they really like. And I feel bad, but again, like, everyone always loves the cookies. They always ask about them. So yeah, I baked. And from that to, like, again, because people don't, when you're an adult, it's not like when you're a kid. You don't get like rivers and rivers of gifts for anything. And it's not like I even expect that anyways from people. So you know what I mean. It is what it is, and it's fine. But I got some cool gifts this year. I'm just so weird. Most of the time, if I want something, I'll just buy it myself too. I always feel weird about like getting gifts from people. But this year I got I got this big sewing kit, like hand sewing kit, which is awesome because I'm not really a sewer. I wish I knew how to sew more. Maybe I'll learn. But I don't really know how to sew much, except I sew enough so I can mend my clothing. I have like clothing with rips and tears sometimes and such like that. So I do sew very minimally and very badly, but I sew. So I got like a kit this year for Christmas. I asked for a gooseneck kettle so that I can do better pour over coffee and tea, because sometimes you can like, again, like burn your coffee and your tea if you're not like carefully doing the water. It's this whole complicated thing. I got a nice scarf from my hubby. I asked for giant ramen bowls because I feel like, especially this time of year, I always tend to gravitate towards wanting more ramen. And we've had bowls for years that we tried to use for ramen, but they were way too small. So these are like legit ramen bowls we now have. And yeah, I think that's all I could really say for December. It was good to me. Actually, I should have been looking. I was just kind of like laying the cards down for you guys really fast to see. But I can say that for December, my card of the month was actually, am I going to find it? I know it's here somewhere. I just don't know where. But my card of the month for December was the Seven of Wands. And so that, a lot of people take that as standing your ground. But what's interesting is the deck that I did my 6-month ahead reading with, the Spark and Pen Tarot, different deck than this, of course. It shows the Seven of Wands as somebody who's like rising above, like they're on these like wands, I guess, but they look like tree branches and they're going above them. And there's like darkness that's trying to get them. So it's like rising above the dark. And I think that's kind of where I was at. I felt like I was having to do that a lot. Rise above, oh, here we go. It took me 5 million years. Rising above the darkness, or I guess in this case, you could even say like pruning the weeds, right? And I feel like that's what I was doing this month. I was giving back to myself, trying to be calmer, enjoy my time, and everything kind of worked out in that way. 7 of Wands. So that's all I'm going to say now for what I did in December. I feel like I was already talking way too long. So besides showing this deck, we're going to now get into the books and other tarot decks that I used in the month of December. Okay, let's talk about books actually first before we get into decks. In the month of December, I will be honest, I read 2 new books and 1 book was actually a reread. So I'm going to get into those. But let's start with the first book that I read during the month of December, which was The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. This is the conclusion to the Scholomance. I guess, trilogy. I guess it's a trilogy, huh? Um, this book, okay, I actually really liked this one. I thought out of all the ones she had done so far, this one kind of felt the most developed to me. I think this one made the most sense. It had some really gut wrenching scenes. This was the best. The conclusion was the best. Can you believe? Oh my God. Really, really good series. If you don't know, this is a fantasy. It's, I think it actually, even though the main characters are technically teenagers, I think this book series is technically not YA. So this might just be actually an adult fantasy book about a girl named Elle. Well, she goes by Elle. Her real name is Galadriel. It's a whole thing. It's explained in the book why she's also named Galadriel. But anyways, and she is a wizard and she lives in a world of wizards, but being a wizard in this version of reality means that all these creatures, dark creatures called Maleficaria, are constantly trying to kill you just because you exist and have magic. So this was the conclusion of that. I don't want to spoil too much because this is a third book. But again, I really liked this one. This was probably my favorite in the series. I would give this, probably a 4.5. I mean, I feel like most of the series I actually was giving like 4 or 4.5. This is definitely the highest of all of them though. And I think the only thing I was kind of wanting a little bit is like a little more develop again of the romance, but it's explained. I don't know. That's the only thing in this whole series. I'm like, I don't know if I 100% believe this, but anyways, that was that. I liked it. And this was a fun read, The Golden Enclaves. But after The Golden Enclaves, I read this book, which I absolutely loved. Oh my goodness. This is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. As it says, it is a cozy fantasy steeped with love, and it is the first book, yes, there's multiple of these, first book in the Tomes and Tea series by Rebecca Thorne. Guys, I did not expect to love this one as much as I did. This was so good. If you are somebody who likes cozy fantasy and thought you liked Legends and Lattes, I'm here to tell you, you might like this one a lot better because that was my experience. 100%. I loved this one. I think for me, why it worked so well, and I think why it was better for me than Legends and Lattes by far, was that this book definitely seemed like it had more of everything. It had more of a world. It had more of a plot. It had more development of characters and the surrounding, even like the minor characters, I felt like got a lot of development. And for that reason, this was so good. For me personally, like I love the idea of cozy fantasies, but it's got to have some plot. It's got to have something going on here. And for me, this was the right balance. This is a sapphic romance. If you're not a fan of that, this might not be your jam, but I loved that it was sapphic too, and it was really, really cute. I think for me, the only thing that probably could have been improved in this one was maybe how do I phrase this? I'm not someone who likes overtly in romance books, like overtly spicy books, as people call them, like spicy. But I do think this could have had a little bit more spice because it did talk, like you got implications that they were like, being intimate with each other, but all of it was like off screen and just little jokes in between. Nothing was like shown on page, which is fine too, because not every book has to have like high spice either. But if you're looking for that, you won't get that in this. No high spice, but it is very cute, cozy. You know that the two characters care for each other deeply. And I'm already getting a hold of the second one. I don't think the third one is 100% out yet, like in this binding that they're doing, where it has like these beautiful edgings. And it's paperback like this and by Bramble. I don't think, but I already have the second one, so I can read that next. And yeah, I really like this one. Oh, by the way, if I didn't say, unapologetically for me, I don't give a shit. I gave this a 5 stars. So just because I enjoyed it so much, I was invested. I liked the world. I liked the magic. I liked everything about this. So yeah, can't spell treason without T. Very good one. And then finally, the last book I read in the month of December was a reread, like I said. And it was a reread of The Hobbit. I know. I've actually been meaning to reread this book for years now. It's kind of one of those things I've been putting off because I've really wanted to do it. I just didn't know when. So I finally decided to reread it, and I don't regret it because it was really, really good upon reread. Wow. The last time I read The Hobbit, oh, by the way, I have coffee. I'm going to drink a little bit. The last time I read The Hobbit, I believe I was 13 years old. So this is what I mean by putting it off. I'm like 31 now, guys. It's been a long time. And it's kind of interesting as a reread. For those who don't know, of course, this is the prequel book to The Lord of the Rings. This is about Bilbo Baggins, and he was roped into going with 12 dwarves and Gandalf on an adventure to retake the Misty Mountains from the dragon Smaug. Not Misty Mountain, sorry, the Lonely Mountain. Yeah, the Lonely Mountain. But they do go through the Misty Mountain at some point. And The Hobbit, what can I say? First off, don't watch the movies. No, the Hobbit movies are awful. Secondly, this is a really interesting book. I think out of all, because I have read the actual Lord of the Rings books, like the original trilogy. I read those ones. This one, The Hobbit itself, is better written than those. Straight up. I would tell you, just read this, to be honest. Very good. But there are some things in this one you should know. One of them is that I didn't remember this until I was reading this one. It's a lot sillier than I remembered it being as a kid, but it's like kind of silly in some parts. And then there's definitely, I thought, what's really interesting? If the Hobbit books were published now, I don't think they would do as well because some of the characters were not developed very well. For instance, you discover very quickly when you read this book that Gandalf, in some moments, was kind of pretty useless. He doesn't do as much as you think he's going to do. And then basically most of the dwarves, except for a few of them, were not very well developed, okay? And that's the problem you're going to run into when you have like 12 dwarves or something like that. I don't know. Going on adventures. Most of them are bound to not be developed very well, but there's a lot of stuff like that. But overall, this is a good one. I mean, I just unapologetically put it as a 5 star just because it's like cozy and from my childhood and stuff like that. But objectively, this probably would have been, if I didn't have like the emotional connection, know the backstory, have read it like before, it probably in this modern times would have gone about a 4. But I just put it as a 5 because, again, I like it despite its flaws, but just letting you know if you've never read The Hobbit. But yeah, this was a good reread. And by the way, I forgot to mention this in gifts I got in December. My sister and mom gave me 2 books. I don't know when I will read these, but I just want to show these quickly because this is the book segment. When Among Crows, this is a Veronica Roth book. I've never read anything by her, but I know of her reputation. But it's really thin and small, so it might, whenever I read this will be a very quick read. Beautiful cover, though. And this book is called Where Sleeping Girls Lie. And I'm pretty sure this is the author of the book Ace of Spades, which is a YA book that I have not read yet, but a lot of people really like that one. So I'm very curious to see how I will feel about this one. I don't know. I'll find out when I eventually read it, but I wanted to mention both of those before we now move into Tarot and Oracle. We're going to start off with the Oracle deck that I vaguely use this one. This is Seasons of the Witch Imbolc. Okay. I only have 3 of the Seasons of the Witch decks, and to be honest, I will probably only have those 3. So I have Imbolc, Mabon, and Llamas. But this deck, of the 3 that I have now, I have to say this one, when I read like the little, oh, these are the backs, by the way, they're very beautiful. And it has like this edging. When I read with this one, I didn't do it much this year. Let me be transparent. I didn't read with this one very much this month. But the few times that I got cards like this one, like the North Star, these read more like affirmations than the other ones did. The other ones felt more, the other 2 I have felt more like advice ones, whereas this is more affirmation style in a series. The artwork is still beautiful. It's still stunning. Nothing really has changed with that. I think for me, the only reason why I didn't pick up this Oracle as much as I normally tend to pick up either Seasons of the Witch ones or Oracles in general as like a daily read is because I was going about living life. And I feel like I tend to lean towards Oracle support more when I'm at work. Yeah, when I'm at work, when I have and still have the time to pull an Oracle in the morning before work, that's when I mostly grab Oracle decks. And because I didn't have as much time and I wasn't as at work as much, I just didn't reach for this one as much as I thought I was going to. There was only a couple days. Like this is the first card I think I pulled. Bathing Ritual here, which says, with you, water spirit, I wash away what no longer serves me and drink in spells that call for healing. Beautiful. But I don't think, here's the thing. I don't think this deck got a fair chance because it was December and the holidays and stuff for me to read with it. So I think what I'm going to do, and I have a video, by the way, where I talked about this, and it might go either after or before this one. I don't know. Where I talked about my goals for 2025. This deck is going to be used also in January. So I think it'll have a better chance of showing me what it's all about. Because this month, it just got the short end of the stick with the holidays and everything. So I will be using this again in January. So Seasons of the Witch Imbolc. You will see this again. Maybe I'll have more to talk about after that. Next up, what other deck did I use this month? Am I starting with like biggest decks first? Maybe. Another deck I used in the month of December was this one. This is the Nova Witch Tarot, and I have it in this bag because I don't like the box it came with. These are the backs. As you can tell, I have small hands, and this deck is very big. It is bigger, which always challenges me, but at the same time, I really like this one. I use this deck for a couple of different readings, but I'll be honest, okay? Tarot in December did not happen. Besides Tarot Advent, I didn't do as much tarot in the month of December, okay? I didn't. And that's just because, again, I was out living life. I was busy. I was actually doing things. I wasn't at home all the time as often. So I did use this deck for a couple of readings, but not anything too crazy. But this is still one that really has impressed me, one that I liked a lot. Did not think I would like it in a million years, but somehow I really like this one. This Girl of Cups is so cute. It's a nice one. It's a surprising one. And I think so far, it's worked well enough, but I haven't like really tested it with some really strong or really deep reading, so I cannot say 100% to that. But yeah, but if you are like me, I will say this deck will give you difficulties with shuffling. So as you can see, this deck is like longer, very long. As you can see, I can't really grip this. It hurts. The only way I can really shuffle is like this, which is not my preferred way of overhanding at all. That's why luckily I have my own shuffle method where I like, you know, I do like this whole thing and I'm like constantly layering and layering, and that's fine, but that's all I can really do with this deck because of its size. So just be aware of that if you're interested in this one, is that the size might really be an issue. I've thought about micro trimming it, but to be honest, I've never trimmed a deck and I don't want to just start with that one. So is what it is right now. But yeah, that was the Nova Witch Tarot. Let me move on to a different deck. What else did I use in the month of, oh, here we go. Stella's Tarot. I use this also in the month of December. And as you can see here, this is, it was an AGM Molar deck. I don't want to say this deck is completely out of print because I don't know or think it is. I think it came out with a, what's it called? There was it recently, maybe it was on Tabata or something. I saw that this deck had like a fancy edition of it. So I don't know if it's really out of print or not. Otherwise, it is, or this version of the deck for sure, I think is out of print. Sorry, not sorry, I guess, for showing this, but let's get into it. The Stella's Tarot. This is a deck I always tend to want to grab in December for some reason. I don't know, it just gives me December vibes. This and the next deck I'm going to show, basically, I always tend to grab in December. But I want to do more with it. There's something about this deck I really like. I think it's the art style is kind of, I'm going to push these up so you guys can see a little. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of surreal. But at the same time, it doesn't go as surreal as it can, but it's really, really cool. As you can see, maybe from the bottom too, it's vaguely, I think, inspired by Thoth, but I don't, read it in that way. I don't know. I don't know. It kind of feels like it does its own thing. And I think I like the artwork because it vaguely reminds me of Remedios Varo, who is my favorite artist ever. So I think that's why I really like this deck. I don't know. But I know I want to do more with this. I just don't know when, how. Oh, especially this card. This is the most surreal of them. And this is so cool. This is, I think even this card is what reminds me kind of Remedios Varo's artwork a lot. I don't know. But really, really cool deck. Sorry if it is out of print for those who might be interested. This version, I think, has been out of print anyways for a while. But Stella's Tarot, it's a cool one. I like it, but again, I feel like I haven't utilized it as much as I could, so we'll see when I will again, but yeah, Stella's Tarot. Besides Stella's Tarot, sorry, I'm like having to move things around here. Besides Stella's Tarot, this next deck has also become, for some reason, a December deck. I don't know why, but it has. This is the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, but as you can see, I have the mini. Oh, I love this little deck, though. I can't imagine it being any other way now. Like, sometimes I see people who show the big size, and I'm like, why is it not small? Oh, my goodness. Okay. These are the backs. See, they're very Christmassy. There's something about this deck. I always want to use this deck only in Christmas now. I don't know why. I, as you can see, have edged my deck. I intentionally edged it so that it looked like the red of like the old, you know, those old books where they have edging and it looks like this, like when they tried to do red, the red would look like this. That's basically the effect I went for. But this deck, most people in the tarot community are aware of the Nicoletta Ciccoli. It's been around a long time. I have the mini. I really like this deck. And I did use this actually for a couple of readings in December, and they actually hit really well. I was surprised. Because I don't always reach for this deck, and I tend to gravitate towards it more in December, but for some reason the readings was giving me were like very exact and well. I don't know. It was playing nice with me. And this is, again, I guess I'm attracted to this one too, because as you can see, Nicoletta Ciccoli's artwork is also very surreal. It's just in a different way, of course, more like almost like a creepy dollhouse way. But I really like this deck despite all that. It is, as you can see, mine is in the mini size, which I actually really like because, okay, I'm eventually, when I get this other deck that I know is supposed to come in, I'm eventually going to do a video where I talk about all my mini decks. But to get on my soapbox just a little bit, I really think that mini decks should be utilized more because they're really handy when you're out and about in public and you want to do a tarot reading, but you can't just have like a normal size deck because it wouldn't fit on like a table or something. I really like minis. I think this one's a good size for just, you know, doing whatever reading or doing bigger readings. And so, yeah. Oh, and this death. I do like that it's Snow White. Very cool. And Nicoletta Ciccoli. I don't know. It's a good one. It's a good one. I don't have much more else to say. It was working nice for me. It was playing nice. It wanted to be out and about, but this is one of my basically December decks now. Forever. And finally, the last deck that I used in the month of December. Well, okay. Technically, I had both of them out, but I'm just going to show you this version because I don't know where I put the Awakened edition of this. This is the Exile Tarot. The one I am showing you. Oh, and I have the minis. Yeah, sorry. This is the Exile Tarot. If the name wasn't, you know, big on there. This is, as you can see, the Woe Studio mini. It is very mini. It's like smaller than my hand mini. This is the Silent edition, but most of this month I was actually using the Awakened edition. I just kept throwing that into bags though, and I don't remember which bag it's in. So you're going to see the Silent because I also had this one out in case I wanted to work with either of them. These are the backs. The difference between, by the way, the Silent and Awakened editions is that the Silent edition has more, as you can see here, more cut off faces, so you don't really see as many of the faces. They're like covered up, and some of the cards have a little bit differences in color and style too. But the Exile Tarot, this is the same artwork from the creator of the Monsoon Tarot, and the Monsoon Tarot is one of my favorites. I'm still, I feel like, learning the Exile Tarot. I didn't use it as much as I could, but I used it for like 1 or 2 readings. And it was really cool to examine the artwork because one of the times I used it, I took it to my tarot event that I did. The only one I was able to do in December when we were talking about the pentacles. So I pulled out all the pentacles and I was going through them, and it was really interesting. But I feel like I still don't really know this deck or 100% know the artwork. But I also haven't been as gravitated to use it as I normally would be with this artist's work. I guess because I love the Monsoon so much, it's like hard to deviate and go to like a different deck. Don't know. But this deck will be back sometime in this year. I have it planned in my little schedule thing. I just don't remember what month or whatever I put it for. But you guys will be seeing this again eventually. I just need to figure out how I'm going to use it. But out of these 2 editions, Silent and Awakened, I do think I like the Awakened better. And I think having the Awakened with the actual faces showing up of people and things makes it so that it feels different from the Monsoon, for sure. More than this Silent edition does. And yeah. I think that means I might have to get the big size of the Awakened edition. I've just been debating. I don't know if I want to 100% pay the money for it yet, but yeah, this was the last deck I used in the month of December, and that was the Exile Tarot. So, with that said, that is the end. I don't have anything else. I mean, again, I have a video that's gonna go either before this one or after this one where I talk more about my plans my standout decks from the year, stuff like that. So this was just really a wrap up of December, and I'm excited for January. I do have big plans also for reading books and for tarot and all that, so you guys will get to see how those come to fruition in January. But because I'm filming this on the last day of December, I'm going to say Happy New Year to all of you. Hope your year starts off good and that good things come your way. And I will see you all again next time. Bye!